Hey! Hello, everybody. It is UK Cowboys TV. I am your host, Mike Poland, and we are here this week. We are supposed to be having a guest, Mike Fisher. He is on the hook, busy running around doing various things, but he has said he is going to join us, so don't worry. That is still in the pipeline. But we're looking this week at the pre-game. So it's the pre-game against the Cleveland Browns. And obviously, in order to do that, we have the Starsky and Hutch of UK Cowboys TV, Mr. Richard Jones and Graham Wilson. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, good.
Rich, you need to hold on. Rich, unmute your mic.
I didn't think I'd muted it. Apologies.
There
I'm all good.
That's all right.
Slight hiccup as one to the blooper reel. Tidy.
Yeah. So how are you guys doing? You all right?
Yeah, can't complain. Locked in the house.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah. We've returned to the semi-lockdown, haven't we?
Yeah, it's like lockdown 0.5 or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Lockdown Miller Lite.
Lockdown Light. Yeah.
Back to earth after the Falcons game.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I mean, I know the guys spoke about that in the post-game show on Tuesday. So. Bit annoying, but we are here to raise everyone's spirits and get back into the mix and look at what's going to be the big W this weekend. So first of all, right then, guys, we'll break into some latest news and what's been going on around the league. Look at some injury history. First one, straight out of the mark, is Rondell Carter has been taken by the Indianapolis Colts, poached off our practice squad, and he is gone. He's now over there. And the Colts defense, mind, they are absolutely flying right now. Did you see it last weekend?
Yeah. Apparently they were a top 10 play in any position.
It was madness.
Including QBs, wide receivers, they were a top 10 play.
Make me sick. Make me sick to watch the defense like that. It's just like...
Yeah, I mean, we will get onto the Cowboys defense in a little bit. But yeah, like you say, I mean... I was drifting in and out of the Colts game because, believe it or not, I took them in my in one of my fantasy leagues. Scored me nearly 30 points, so it was coming up on my phone every minute when they were doing a highlight, and it was like they've just scored a pick six, they just got an interception, they just got a strip sack, and I was just like, what the hell is going on? They're the number one defense at the moment. Did you know that?
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Well, continuing on with some of the news. Wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, he is on the injury report. Not on the injury report, but not practicing. But the good news is coming from Mike McCarthy is it's not an injury, it's a workload issue. So they wanted to just let him rest, stick his feet up, take a bit of the workload off him. So he's going to be good to go Sunday, apparently. A lot of people are panicking about it. I don't think there's much to panic about there. Also, DeMarcus Lawrence, he's questionable. But I think that shouldn't be too bad. This seems to be a reoccurring injury that he gets late on in the game. It's the same thing. I don't know if you guys are noticing that, are you?
Definitely. It's one of those things, it's like one of those just sort of soft tissue things. It's, even though I know it's not soft tissue, but it lingers, it reoccurs every now and again. It never really goes away, which is a pain. But I think it's one of those that he'll deal with and he'll play.
Yeah, and on the CeeDee Lamb one as well, I think a lot of the times we forget that these guys don't actually have an off season because they go straight from their college season into combine mode. They get ready for their pro days, and they're at it all the time. We don't see them on screen and on camera and all sorts, but I'd imagine they're hitting the gym every single opportunity they can get. So they go from that to what we've seen of training camp straight into another season again. So they don't really have any downtime. So not really too concerned about CeeDee Lamb either.
Yeah.
For him to have shown up how he has, with no preseason games, you got to think that's exactly what you've just said is completely true, because he would have needed to do that to have any chance to show up like he has. So it's not that surprising, really, when you think about it. So I really wouldn't worry. If anyone's worried about it, I would really not.
Yeah, exactly. And also, so on the injury front news is Tyron Smith actually looks like he could play this weekend.
Fucking yeah, come on, please.
The latest practice report says he's doing individual drills. McCarthy's saying he's hoping, which we'll find out later on today, perhaps. Maybe when Mike Fish gets here, if he does, I'm still chatting to him. We'll see what happens there. But we'll see what happens on the latest with that practice report, and we'll see what he does. But it is looking that way. It's looking that way. But in other news, Lyle Collins, I mean, I've asked about a time frame. Apparently, it's going to be a while. It's going to be quite a while on that one.
Yeah, when no one gives you a definite answer, you know it's not good news.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, guys, while you're here, make sure you send us your comments. Tell us what you think the score is going to be. Maybe you've got some predictions for us. We even love the hot takes. Give us the hot takes. If you've got a hot take, it will go right up. We'll stick that right up on you. And
hot as they go.
As hot as they can come. As hot as they can
go. Get them in. Get them sizzling. Habanero. Get some habaneros in there. Just throw it out there. It's fine. We can handle it.
Do you know what I like is the fact that it's you talking about hot and spicy and chilies.
I know,
you
right?
of all people. Yeah. The man who struggled in the hot wing pub.
Right, I didn't struggle. I still had.
No, you did well. You held your own.
I held your own. You know,
I was proud of you. Proud of you.
Cheers, mate. I appreciate it.
Right, guys. Just a quick shout out before we get into the ins and outs of it all. Yeah. Shout out to our sponsor, Cowboys Experience. Obviously, as we know, there are some issues this year getting to the games. But if you do, or as and when you can get to the games, make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. They've got game day packages, tailgate parties, stadium tours, and we'd love to see photos of you guys. Send them all over. We'll post them up on our page and on our group and Twitter and Instagram and even TikTok. Now we've got TikTok. But yeah, I forgot to mention. I'll tell you about that later. But yes, make sure you do that. And when you do book through Cowboys Experience, use the booking code UK Cowboys, and you'll get yourself a nifty little gift. Just for saying the name. Just for saying the name.
Just name drop. Don't be a clown.
Just
drop the name.
Yeah.
Just drop it and get free stuff. It's good. It's a no-win.
Stuff.
No, it's a win-win, rather. You know.
Who can argue with free stuff? But yes, guys. So I'm going to ask you first of all, right? I'm going to check out some spurious stats. We'll just on a base of the game, right? We won't dive too far into the details just yet. But what is your biggest worry? Your main concern with the Browns or the game that you have this weekend?
Go on, Graham.
Myles Garrett. If we do not get Tyron Smith involved in some point, it's going to be a long day for Dak and Zeke. He is a one-man wrecking ball in the same form of Aaron Donald. He can stop offenses by himself because he can either get to the ball carrier or he can shut Dak down pretty quickly. I mean, we all remember the first half performance from our tackles against the Falcons. It wasn't pretty, and there you are. Paul agrees with me.
Myles Garrett.
It's a scary proposition playing Myles Garrett. No wonder he's the highest paid defensive end.
Yeah. What about you, Rich?
The inability to establish the run, which kind of ties into that in fairness, because if Mr. Garrett is going to be running everywhere and generally just putting Dak on his ass, that means the line's not doing very well. And if the line's not doing very well, then don't expect a very good run game. And if we don't have a very good run game, then you can expect us to be fairly one-dimensional. And 2 of the games where we've been behind in the run game are the 2 games we've lost. So I'm very nervous with that, especially when you consider who they've got on the flip side of the ball doing the run game. Good lordy lord.
Yeah, it's all fun and games out there. Now, here's one interesting little statistic for you guys. Is at the moment, the Cleveland Browns have a better record than the Cowboys. They're 2-1. But they are, in fact, on a winning record. So they're over 500 for the first time since the beginning of the 2014 season. Wow. So to tie in with that it's the first time they're on a winning record. Bear in mind, because we all know about the Browns, and it's all about poop and all of that stuff. But anyway, right? Do you think this is possibly at the moment a Cleveland Browns team on the turn? Are they ascending?
I would say so.
Yeah. I've always been really cautious because every time going into a season, the Browns look like they're going to do okay. They go the other way. Yeah. But they do seem to be on a bit of an incline at the minute. So, I mean, with 3 games in, you got to wait and see. But it's looking pretty good.
I like to talk about foundational pieces. Quarterback, check. Pass rusher, check. Running game, check. Yeah. Serviceable defense, check. So it does look good. Whether they can keep it all together and keep the momentum moving at the same time remains to be seen. But we heard a couple of seasons ago about their high flying offense. Goodness, they've spent enough money on it in terms of draft capital and in terms of free agency. So if they can keep it together, I don't see why not. Because they'll be desperate to shake that stigma of being the Browns.
Oh, really? Definitely, 100%. Yeah. I mean, they're tracking well because from the first game they lost, the penalties were dire. The amount of penalties they were having were dire, and their 3rd down conversion was dire. Both of those are going a lot better now. Yeah, they're still having a fair amount of penalties, but the 3rd down conversion rate is a lot better because the run game is getting established a lot better. So it's cautiously optimistic if you're a Browns fan, I think.
Well, why not?
In terms of the Browns, I think the changes come from the top because to my knowledge, they've drafted well. They've drafted better than they have done. Obviously, they knocked it out of the park with Myles Garrett. How could they not? Baker Mayfield's been a good choice. I think they got Nick Chubb in the 3rd round. That was great value for money.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
They've given Kareem Hunt his 2nd chance, and he's taken it with both hands. They've stocked up in terms of like wide receiver presence when they could. I'm not sure that they give up capital for Beckham. I think they did.
They did, didn't they? I can't remember the details, but I swear they gave up.
Was it a first?
I don't think it was a first.
Anyway, draft capital.
I can't remember.
I mean, he's maybe not hit the ground as quickly as he thought he would, but with a good running game and a defense that can turn the ball over, you would imagine if he can return to Giants form, then that's only going to push them that bit closer.
Oh, definitely. Because like Chubb, like you said, for a 3rd round pick, he's like 4th or something in terms of like yards at the minute, isn't he? Yeah. Amongst all running backs, like he's doing really well. Yeah. He's shown up, and it's not just him. That's the best thing for them. They got a nice 1-2 going, so it's just like
they have.
Well, they did. I know he's questionable at the minute, but
I remember back to the start of when they were on Hard Knocks, and the cameras flooded Baker Mayfield, and he couldn't move inside the airport, and then they cut to a shot of Nick Chubb, and he's standing at the carousel, and a guy says to him, "So, are you a footballer?" Yeah. I'm Nick Chubb. I'm a running back for the Browns. Like, all right, okay, cool.
Just like, do you play football?
I can't remember the exact phrase, but he was low key, shall we say?
Jesus Christ! And look at him now.
Yeah.
And look where he is now.
Just to let you know, Mike Fisher's just got back in touch with me and say he's just got swamped, and so he won't be joining us this week. So we'll try and get him on for next week,
that's a shame.
which means it'll be a double special next week because Brian's got a special guest on Tuesday, and then we'll have a special guest for the pregame. But yeah, at least we know exactly what's going on, so that's fine. These things happen, especially during the busy season, which is when football starts. So, guys, let's look at the Cowboys' offense, right? So let's start at the top. Dak, how are you guys thinking that his season's going, and do you think he's going to have another great game?
Go on, Rich.
I think it's going quite well in the grand scheme of things. In terms of him playing himself, in as much in a vacuum as you can. He's doing pretty well. I mean, he outthrew Matt Ryan, and quite considerably, and he also outthrew a certain gentleman last week. I'm not sure if is he a good quarterback we played last week? I'm not sure, but he outthrew him as well. So that's the thing. All these games have been one-score games so far, whether it's win or lose, and a lot of it has been put on Dak's back. And obviously there was the comment that was taken a bit weirdly. It was worded weirdly by Jerry this week in terms of his comment about Dak. Basically what he was trying to say was a lot of people like Russell Wilson, like Tony Romo, and again, like Dak, those are the sort of quarterbacks that you ideally want there because you want to put it all at the end of the game, make or break, and they'll usually get it. And unfortunately this time he didn't. It's one of those things, but you can't get it all the time. But he's doing pretty well. I mean, he's betting himself. He's won every time, and at the minute, it's looking pretty damn good. He's been pretty spot on. I haven't really seen any massive flaws. The problem that he's had has been the protection, and he's playing like this with the line that he's got at the minute with two rookies, and everyone moved around late last game. It's hard to poke holes.
Yeah, I mean, this Mark from Twitter, from Periscope, if you're following us over there, he's agreeing with you. He thinks he's been great.
100%.
And here's another one. Dak so far has been a fantasy stud, thankfully for me. So yeah,
Lloyd.
We will. Yeah, Lloyd there following in with his fantasy. We do run a fantasy section at the end, Lloyd. So we'll try and help you out at the end of the show. But for you, Gray, let's talk about Zeke. Last week, we saw very little of him, if you like. Do you think perhaps we're going to see a return, the return of the Zeke? Do you think that this is this sort of game?
Yeah, it would be nice to get a kind of commanding lead so we can see more of Zeke. We seem to fall behind in games, and then the balance goes to the passing game, and Zeke kind of disappears. He did drop a couple of balls against the Seahawks. Not going to kill him on that because he is a 3-down back, and he's one of the best 3-down backs in the league. Just because he drops a couple of balls doesn't mean he's not going to cut the mustard anymore. Yeah. Against the Browns D line like that, if they can scheme it properly, yeah, absolutely. But it all depends on the kind of shootout status of the game for me, because if we can run the ball, it means we have a lead or it's a tight game. When we start falling 2 scores behind, that's when the urgency gets created and you see the 8-man boxes loaded ready for Zeke. So I think that was a temporary blip. I think it was fairly poor to see some comments like calling Zeke out during that game, because I don't know if anybody noticed, but we had a patchwork offensive line finishing that game. We had Zach Martin at right tackle, we had a rookie at centre, and we had serviceable at best guards at the time, with a left tackle who's thrown at the deep end as well. So no wonder Zeke wasn't getting much room to play with. I'd like to see the stat where Zeke's first point of contact was, because I bet an awful lot of the time it was behind the offensive line. Somebody was getting through. So you can't kill Zeke because there wasn't any running lanes. He is human, he's not, especially when you've got a Seahawks offense like that ready to come after him. I think he'll return to form, and hopefully it does it on Sunday. But I just want to go back to Dak for one point.
Yeah.
Anybody that's been following the Cowboys this long will know that Jerry Jones has contract situation in the back of his mind. To me, that's a contract play. That statement from Jerry, basically saying, just throwing a little seed of doubt. Can Dak be the kind of $35 million a season player? And I think he knows he can. But to me, it was pure contract play. Dak has been one of our top performers through the first 3 weeks of the season, and I think it was just media from Jerry. I don't think there wasn't any foundation to it whatsoever for me, and it was taken out of context, even if it was.
Yeah, it was.
It felt like it was, like you said, it felt like it was threading the needle between those two things, in terms of it was very vague. It was open to interpretation, which is why I think so many people took it that way, which in effect has that knock-on effect and puts that sort of shot across the bow sort of thing. So I'd agree with you there completely. Yeah. That was my first instinct when I read it. The transcript of what he'd said was, that's very strange, especially when all along they've been behind Dak 100%, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's been complete support, and then that. And it's like, that's a bit strange now. That sticks out. I mean, that's the only thing that really makes sense.
Another masterstroke from Jerry, basically, because say Monday morning through Monday night, are we talking about a questionable Cowboys secondary? No. Or the offensive line? No. Or the record? No. We're talking about contracts. It's deflecting from a 1-2 start, questionable defensive play, to I think it'll get resolved. I think it will get resolved. But it's perfect deflection from Jerry. Again.
Yeah.
He's the media genius.
He really is.
Yeah. Now, looking at this though, with the running backs, do you think, guys, there's any reason why we're seeing very little of Tony Pollard?
I think
hardly seen him.
I think for the very reasons that I brought up during the off season, I think there's so much ball to go around. I think that in terms of that, whenever the ball does come to Pollard, he's under the microscope. We saw the mistake. I think with 3 stud receivers, a stud running back, Dalton Schultz pushing for receptions as well, where are you meant to see Tony Pollard? And I said it during the off season. I don't think it's because he's a bad player. I just think there's so much ahead of him.
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with Tony Pollard. Personally, I think it has more to do with this O-line. Bringing it back to Zeke, it was, they drafted him for a reason. He is a very good player in all facets of the running back situation. Now, I admittedly, with a bit of a caveat to it before I start, haven't gone back and watched the tape because I haven't had a chance yet. But I would be very interested to see if the reason we haven't seen that many run plays from Zeke is because he's been having to pick up blitzes and to pick up a lot of the slack from this O-line, because that is one thing he is very good at. That has got. Yeah. I'd be surprised if that wasn't at least part of it. Now, don't get me wrong; he did have a bad game last week. He had 6 out of 12. At least 3 of those 6 that he didn't make were dropped. It was a bad game. But how many times have we said that Zeke has had really a very bad game? That's pretty much the only one that I can think of. So I would be very interested to see just how much he's had to deal with picking up slack from the O-line to help out. Because that may be a reason you haven't seen much of Tony Pollard, because Tony Pollard doesn't have that same ability. And at the end of the day, the main thing is protecting Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott, as I said earlier, has outthrown Matt Ryan and you know who. So, and then there's the one person that everyone's been saying, oh, well, he doesn't deserve as much money as him all preseason. And he's just outthrown him in a game, in fairness. Oh, he didn't get the W, and it's a touchdown less. But he's kept up. In terms of yards, he's smashed him. So, there's a serious statement there, and I think you need to consider absolutely everything in the round before you jump out and say, oh, I think Zeke's just, people are saying Zeke's gone to crap and giving him our time. It's one time out of how many? And you've got to take all of it in the round. And when you bring in the question to Tony Pollard then as well, I think it starts to potentially make a bit of sense.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting one. The Browns practice report is a little bit on the heavy side at the moment. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's pretty heavy. Mm-hmm. But one of the good news, it's not good news to have an injured player, but good news in terms of how the game script will go for the Cowboys is cornerback Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams both look like they're not going to play this weekend. Mm-hmm. In terms of what that means for Cooper and Gallup, I don't know what you guys think, I think that is going to make a big difference, because we'll get to the defense in a sec. The Browns defense at the moment is pretty good. It's not bad at all. I'll go through some stats once you guys talking. Yeah, I'll go through a few now. But in terms of what the cornerbacks can do, shadowing our wide receivers, I think they're going to run quite free and open. I don't know what you guys make of all that.
100%, yeah. I think I would not be at all surprised if there is a fairly soon in the game a very big deep play to a certain Cedric Wilson. I would not be surprised with that at all, in all honesty. I really, really hate the fact that I forgot to put my bet down on him last weekend, because I would have made a lot of money. But it's not surprising at all. Like you said, with the wide receiver core we've got here and the damage you've got on that secondary, they had a very good game. The game just gone. There is no reason they shouldn't have a very good game again this week, especially with those injuries, which, like you said, you hate to see injuries, but they can only play the people and the team that they're against that's actually on the field. And that is weighted, not considerably, but it's weighted favorably to the Cowboys wide receiver core.
Even Olivier Vernon's on there. He's on the injury report. He was limited, so it could be a possibility he still plays. Claiborne's questionable as well. So, we'll get to the offensive side as well. But how do we think this O-line's going to fare against this pretty good attacking defensive line? There's a certain Aggie over there that will absolutely tear things to shreds.
I'll be honest. I think this is going to be a long season for the offensive line. With the Lyle Collins situation, it's that was the first the first piece to crack on it, and we said it all through the off season. You won't get 16 games out of Smith. We've improved right already so often. Rich and I were both screaming for it during the off season. We need to stop papering over cracks, and it's come back. It's starting to show now. Tyler Badass, if he can step up, it would be sweet. If Connor Williams or McGovern can find some form, if we can get a bit more consistency out of the rookie tackles. A lot of questions. It's a lot.
The one that's left.
Yeah.
So, in terms of Myles Garrett, because I mean, he's not the only guy. Mind, I mentioned another in Vernon. There's another guy who can just tear things up and tear things to shreds. What do you think is going to be the plan to try and slow that sackable? That's probably the wrong word to use, but that attacking defense that's going to try and pressurize the O-line and Dak.
Get the ball out quick.
Yeah.
Get the ball out quick, especially when we talked there about the injuries in their secondary. If we can get the ball out quick, plenty of shotgun, quick slants, and if we can get the run game involved, create maybe some. I'm not too sure how their defensive tackles is. As I know, certainly there's Sheldon Richardson still there.
Yeah, he is, and he's playing really well. He's playing quite well too.
I mean, their D line, to my knowledge, is the one that's registering the sacks. And actually, I've just pulled up there. They've got Garrett, Richardson, and Claiborne have 7 sacks between them. So that's where part of their success is coming from.
Yeah.
So
and another interesting player that people keep forgetting about as well is the rookie, the linebacker Taki. Yes. I've been wanting to say that name all day. I want to be saying that name all day. He's doing great too.
Yeah.
And you can't forget their safety as well, Carl Joseph. He's not a bad safety.
No,
he's really not. He's pretty good.
I mean, you need to play good defense in that division. I mean, that's a strong division for defense. We're not going to sit here and deny that it's not a worry for us. But I keep thinking back to that first quarter in the Falcons game. We got torn to bits. Scary. Scary. I mean, what else can you say? It's not like we know that Smith is an injury doubt. We know that Collins is. I mean, what is the alternative? Are they gonna break out some draft capital and go and get somebody? Because that would help.
It would help. But I don't think. But again,
nobody's going to give you a starting left tackle. Even rarer, you're going to
have to give up a lot.
Exactly, you would have. I mean, offensive linemen are thin enough as it is, in terms of talent and availability.
Yeah. They're not going to do it. I'm convinced that we're in this for the long run, and it's just a case of do the best we can until, at the very least, or the earliest, Tyrant's back, which is hopefully this week, and then until eventually when Lyle comes back, then we can really start rolling. Because as I said before, it's been impressive how well Dak has done with the line that he's got. It really has. You got to think what he could be doing with those two guys in the mix.
Yeah, well, we'll find out.
The thing that makes me... Yeah.
When you go
on, Greg.
I was say, the thing that makes me really nervous at the minute is looking up stats earlier, the Browns, like Mike said, they're doing pretty well at the minute. They're tied for 7th in terms of sacks. They got 9 total sacks.
Yeah, they have. And
there you go.
A quick bit of draft talk already. We're only into week 3, looking.
Oh, I hope. I really hope they do, because they need to. It's been in my opinion, and Graham's agreed with me, a glaring need on this team for a while, and it hasn't been addressed. And I get why it hasn't been addressed. I completely understand, but they need to stop papering over cracks. And if they're not going to draft, they need to start doing stuff in free agency. It is ridiculous that have run realistically a first-run team. Like we said earlier, they've struggled in these first 3 games, and I know we're 3 games in, but the 2 games that they haven't won, and I know they've been close, but the 2 games they haven't won, in spite of Dak being really good, the 2 games they haven't really established the run as well as their opponent. That's not surprising. Ultimately, this team is still at its core a run-first team, and you need to establish the run to keep the defense honest. So they need to invest in this O-line. I know we've been a bit spoilt really in the past, but they need to invest in it, and I think next year will definitely be the time.
We have. I mean, fair play to them in the past. 3 first-round picks we used to have. I mean, let's face it, we're still doing Smith. Collins would be first-round talent, but like you say, that was a while ago. And I mean, it seems like only yesterday, that we passed up on Johnny Manziel to go get Zach Martin. Best moving Cowboys.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
But see, when you think, if it is to be Tyron Smith's return game, he's got the best pass rusher in the league in his face. So don't expect
anything amazing. But in fairness, we don't need anything amazing. Like I said before, these games, the 3 games they've played, they're 1-score games. You don't need amazing. You need Tyron Smith running as Tyron Smith is now. You just need him on the field, because Tyron Smith, even at his, not running 100% like he is lately, is not. He's still pretty good, but he's not that quality if he's not on the field. We need him.
1 minute. 1 minute. We have on the line.
Go on.
We have Mr. Mike Fisher.
There he is.
How we doing, sir? You all right?
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. We can hear you great. Yeah. You all right, mate?
I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologize. We're just happy to have you with us, Mike. As I was saying, we started the show, and as we were talking, I said, unfortunately, we're trying to catch people like yourselves at the busy time, which is when football actually starts.
Well, I have so much respect for your country that I think we're on the wrong time. You guys got it right. But it wasn't. Here's my problem. So I had knee surgery yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And nothing. It's the first surgery I've ever had in my life. So I was scared. It's nothing. It was a little torn meniscus, shave off some bone or whatever. But so my excuse is I'm hiring a kite right now.
Yes.
So I was on
brilliant.
Sean and RJ, of course, have me on every morning on 105.3 The Fan.
Yeah.
The number 1 sports station in America, by the way. And
True.
And Sean, of course, they both know my wife Marcia very well. They say, so she's taking care of you. What is the best thing she's doing for you? And I say, when I ask for 2 of these, she gives me 4.
Well, it won't be the first time we've had drunk or high people on the show, so don't worry, you're not on your own. And the good news is we've just been talking about the Cowboys offense, and you've joined at the perfect time, because we're literally onto the defense. So yeah. What a great time to join things up. Now, one of the stats we was talking about just before the show, which cropped up, and I'll get your take first of all, Mike. We're going to sound like an echo here, so we do apologize. But Dallas Cowboys in the last 2 games have allowed 77 points. That's the most points over a 2-game stretch they've allowed in franchise history.
Yep.
Now, last week, we saw the emergence of Cedric Wilson, 2 touchdowns, having a stormer a game. Do you think perhaps we're trying to push a bit of luck here, try a sprinkling of magic with the Wilson name, and try Donovan Wilson at safety?
To pretend that what they have is good enough is pretending. And
yeah.
Stephen Jones came on 105.3 The Fan the other day and said, and he used the word campus. He said, we have some guys here on campus. He was talking about why to not go for Earl Thomas. We have some guys here on campus that are going to step up. Well, he's making it sound, and I love Stephen, but he's making it sound like this is a college team and with a good freshman class coming in. And if you're on the practice squad, there's a reason you're on the practice squad, and it's because you're not good enough. And as football fans, we all are like, hey, we got to keep that guy. We got to stash that guy. We got to keep that guy. You guys should do a study because I'm too high. How many practice squad players? How many practice squad players have ever made the Pro Bowl?
Very true.
The number
I think is like
0.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be.
It might be.
It's not high. So to pretend whether it's Donovan Wilson, who it's probably time to give him a shot. He plays special teams, obviously, but I don't know that he's got he might not have very many snaps on defense. I think it's time for Reggie Robinson II to get a uniform. And
Could be.
I know he can play special teams. And if you put one of those two guys out there, how much worse would they be than what's going on now, where, as you said, the worst 2-game stretch in franchise history, the worst 3-game stretch to start a season in franchise history. At this moment, this is a historically bad defense. Historically bad. And there's only so many things I can change. And there's some places where you go, okay, listen, Tank Lawrence is hurt. He's banged up. That's as good as we're going to get from Tank Lawrence right now. Or, Joe Thomas is what we have at linebacker. We don't have a better one behind him. But you can't say that at safety. You can't say, oh no, I guess we're kind of picking on Darian Thompson a little bit, but Darian Thompson, who is a wonderful guy, by the way, has now been in the league for 5 years, Giants and Cowboys, and this is what he is. He's not all of a sudden going to blossom into a standout player, nor, frankly, is there evidence that Xavier Woods, who they like a lot, obviously, there's not evidence that Xavier Woods is going to blossom into a standout player. So I think there's problems at tackle, and maybe Tyron solves those this week, and there's problems at safety, and you're not going to solve them on campus.
Yeah. Now, another one that is cropping up, that we was just going through some basic stature as we're talking on defense. Dallas at the moment as well as struggling on defense, are also struggling with penalties. They're second in the league in penalties. Do you think there's any particular reason for that? Do you think it's more of a struggle, Mike, of them trying to play catch up? Do you think perhaps?
Well, let's look at the general sloppiness. And we can make the excuse for it in advance. Well, they didn't have training camp. Well, the COVID. Well, but the other teams didn't have training camp either.
Yeah. So,
the reason we heard this after week 1. Well, the reason we only scored 17 points, we just don't have the cohesion yet. Yeah, but other teams didn't all. If that was a good excuse, then every team in the NFL would have scored 17 points.
Yeah.
17 points is bad. In this, the way football is played now, you better be able to score 30. And luckily, in the last couple weeks, we've seen the Cowboys are. In fact, you might be better in the last couple weeks. You had to score 40. And so I think there's the general sloppiness, turnovers in every form. We can do this quickly off our head. Ezekiel Elliott in one game had 3 drops. Now, I don't know that all those screen passes were going someplace, but Ezekiel Elliott is a very good pass catcher. Very good. He's never done that before in his life. He hasn't dropped 3 balls in a week of practices. He hasn't dropped 3 balls in a month of practices, but he had 3 drops there. The fumbles, 4 fumbles in 1 quarter against Atlanta, 2 missed extra points in 1 game, a botched kickoff return that caused the Cowboys to start at the 1. We all get excited about going for it on 4th down. They're 3 of 7 going out on 4th down. And I know you guys, no matter what country we live in, those are technically called a turnover on downs, even though they don't count as a turnover. Well, add those up. You give your defense terrible field position. You ruin your time of possession. And you give the other team a psychological edge, because if I can't make extra points, as we learned of last year's Cowboys, that permeates itself through the entire roster. You all of a sudden feel, if you can't make extra points, you all of a sudden feel like we can't do anything. And that Brett Maher thing was part of the death of the Cowboys last year.
Yeah. Now, one of the things we was talking about on offense, and it was one of the questions I was hoping to ask you, was that we are seeing very little of Tony Pollard. We've got the take from our two boys here, but what do you think are possibly the reason behind all that, Mike?
I just think there's not enough balls to go around for all these guys that everybody wants to see. And, we do this. Brian Broaddus, you guys know Brian Broaddus. Has he ever been on your show?
Yeah, a few times, yeah.
He's outstanding. And he made the point a couple of years ago and made the admission, really. He goes, we go to Oxnard and we get all excited and it's 77 degrees and there's an ocean right there and there's mountains over there and there's, girls in halter tops over there. And we lull ourselves into thinking that all these Cowboys are all going to the Pro Bowl. But I'm not saying Tony Pollard isn't talented, but he's a scat back, what we used to call him, right? And I mean, doesn't every team have a Tony Pollard? I hate to say it, but don't they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, ironically, as we're talking of the Cowboys defense, on the flip side of that, the Cleveland Browns, Kareem Hunt is looking very questionable to play. In fact, he hasn't practiced this week.
Right.
On a team that is purely run heavy, you've got two running backs by week 3 over 200, one over 200 and one nearly at 300 yards. Without Kareem Hunt there, do you think that puts us more in of a stand-in to be in a chance for this game?
I'm going to move around so I can. Can see.
That's fine.
I think there's the problem with the Browns, and it's weird that they aren't more explosive because they have Odell Beckham on their team and all the rest.
Yeah.
But even though they're a grinded out team, that running back Chubb, I think Chubb's the hardest guy to tackle in football.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Agree.
There's other running backs obviously that are, Derrick Henry is a bullish runner and hard to tackle. But does anybody ever tackle Chubb? Does the first tackler ever tackle Chubb?
I don't think so.
And
I don't think so.
Like in terms of yards after contact, he's got to be the best in football because
he's got to be right up there. Yeah.
Down. By the way, the Cowboys, I believe, are leaders in yards after catch. So Cowboys have some of that going for them, and they do it with CeeDee Lamb, and he goes 50 yards. With Chubb, he goes 15. But yeah, that's a grinded out team. And I'll tell you this too, and I know you guys are too smart for this, but Cowboy fans and Cowboy media thinking, okay, now Dallas, we got 3 home games. Let's just win these 3 home games, and everything's going to be fine. It's not that easy. Because just while you're thinking, okay, good, we just have the Browns. The Browns are thinking, good, we just got the Cowboys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The Giants legitimately stink in every way. That I won't make a case for the Giants, but Arizona is scary, really scary. And so this unique opportunity to play at home for 3 games and maybe to win 3 games, fantastic opportunity. But don't take it for granted that it's going to happen.
Yeah. We just got a question that's come in for you, Mike, from our viewers on YouTube. What's your thoughts on Myles Garrett against either an injured Tyron Smith or Brandon Knight?
Yeah, and Tyron Smith practiced today on a limited basis. And so this is the best news we've had on him in 2.5 weeks. Now, Mike McCarthy is really good or really bad at fudging the injury practice. With Tank, with Tyron, they haven't really told the truth. With Lyle Collins, they haven't exactly told the truth along the way here. But ultimately, I think Tyron Smith is way closer to playing than he's been in the last couple of weeks with the neck. And I need Tyron Smith to go against Myles Garrett. And not that Cleveland doesn't have other weapons defensively, they do. But that's the guy. Every team, they talk about, hey, we circle that guy. I think Zach Martin said it this week. We circle that guy. That means we we game plan for him, and Myles Garrett is the game plan guy for Cleveland.
Yeah. Okay.
100%.
And then another question, I think I'll ask all of you this one, from Lloyd on Facebook is, do we think the new coaching staff are putting high expectation on the Cowboys? I mean, putting a lot of pressure on themselves. I'll ask you first, Mike, and then go around the horn.
Yeah, I think this is a America's team product.
Yes.
This team, and it's both a credit and a curse with Jerry Jones, and you guys know my relationship with Jerry Jones, I think, and
yeah.
I just think the world of him in so many ways, but his penchant for sales causes us all to think that every year is going to be the year, and he does that. He does that to us, and then we do it to ourselves. There's no reason that this coaching staff should feel any particular outside pressure, except you're America's team, and maybe it does feel different than coaching in Buffalo. Maybe it does feel different than coaching in Cincinnati, except that I hate to say this because you guys like the Cowboys, right? You love the Cowboys, right?
Of course we do.
But there's no automatic. Cowboy fans in Texas hate when I say this. It's not your birthright to go to the Super Bowl just because you have a star on the side of your helmet. There's no innate or inalienable reason why the Cowboys are better than the Broncos. There's no reason. They have the same salary. They have the same amount of salary cap. They have the same, same access to pumps to inflate the footballs. They have the same size goalposts. But America's team can create the illusion of, hey, this is our year. We got to do it. When was the last time we had a building year around here where we just conceded to that? Never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about it. It's been a long time ago.
Yeah. Now, I think the days of, hey, we got a 5-year program. Those days are over now. Free agency has changed that. The parity in the schedule has changed that. But there's other, the Jets recognize that it's going to take them some time. The Cowboys have never allowed themselves to recognize anything like that. And as a result, maybe that's why we get overly disappointed, because we never thought they'd ever go, this great program would ever go 7-9, except it's due to. And in fact, this great program, of course, goes 8-8 a lot.
Yeah, it does go 8-8 a lot. But another sneaky question that has come up, and I've saved this one, is the Tristan Hill issue where he did that alligator roll on Carson. What do we think? Because at the moment, Tristan Hill has been, although there haven't been many bright sparks on the defense, he has been one of them. Do you think that is going to affect the D-line's efficiency this week?
Yeah, and I don't know that Tristan Hill has gone from 0 to 60, but considering where he was last year, he's gone from 0 to 30. He's an NFL player. That gator roll thing, nobody in Dallas thinks it's dirty because that wasn't your knee, ankle, and foot. But I think the Seahawks, the Rams. There's a clip out there of the Rams doing that to Dak Prescott, and Dallas fans and everybody was outraged.
Yeah,
they did it to us. So
that's it.
Yeah, so always the way.
Yeah. So if somebody gator rolled Ezekiel Elliott, we'd be screaming just as loud as Pete Carroll.
Exactly. That was going to be the point that I was going to make to you. Yeah. But what we'll do, I know that you've got a few things on the line here going on, so we'll quickly. Do you do much fantasy football at all, Mike?
I've played fantasy football since 1990.
Oh, so we've got the right man for this job then. What we're gonna have a look at just what we do is very quickly a little game at the end where I'll take it round the horn. But before we do that, Rich, do you have a score prediction for the game this weekend?
I do. I got to be honest. This feels very much just sort of fanboy. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to go 28-38 to the Cowboys. As scared as I am of the Browns at the minute, to be honest, I'm just going to go with it. Screw it. What else have I got to do?
Graham?
Yeah. High scoring again. It just comes with the territory just now. I'm going to go. The games have been tight, and I think this is going to be similar. I'm going to go 24-21 Cowboys.
All right, then. Do you want to give us a prediction, or do you jinx yourself when you do that, Mike?
What's the point spread?
I think I did have it up because we was looking at that earlier. I'm trying to remember what it was off the top. Can you remember what it was off the top of your head?
No,
Rich?
didn't say.
I can't remember what it was off the top of my head.
If you guys have phones over there, you can just look it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring
recording
it up
on my
now.
phone. Mike will get it in a minute now.
No, my cheat on this is I look at the point spread. If you try to disagree too much with odds makers and put real money on it, you end up living in a cardboard box under a bridge.
Yep.
So, I bet you they've got the Cowboys favored by 5.
Yeah, it is. It's a 5-point spread.
There you go. So that tells me Cowboys 30, Browns 24.
All right. Okay. All right. So let's get into fantasy then. We'll try and get into this. Right then, guys. What we'll do is we will simplify it. I know normally we do like our funny terminology here. But what we'll do, right, Mike, is all we do is I give you the points that the players projected to score, and you just say whether it's going to be higher or lower than that.
Gotcha.
All right. So I'll let you take the first one, which is Dak Prescott. He is predicted this week to score 21 fantasy points.
Who's this player?
Dak Prescott.
21?
He's going to score 21 fantasy points.
Higher?
Yeah. Higher. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to mark this down, and I'll when I do the post after the game, I'll make sure to tag you in it. Right. Right, Graham. Baker Mayfield, 17 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go higher as well.
Higher on that one for Graham.
Yeah. Look for a rushing touchdown from Mayfield.
Oh yeah. You can't. Something that people do forget is he is able to use his feet and dash out. Maybe not as much as Russell Wilson, but he still can do it. So Rich, give it to me on Zeke, 18 points. That's quite close.
Yeah. Higher.
Higher. Okay, for Rich. Nick Chubb, Mike. He's projected to score 12 points.
Really?
Yeah.
They think Zeke is 18 and Chubb's 12?
That's a bit stupid.
Yeah.
That's not right.
I think what they're looking at there no, I think perhaps what they're looking at is that it's going to mix between Chubb and Hunt, but with Hunt looking limited and not playing.
With him carrying an injury, yeah.
I don't know who's making the numbers, but I want to play in that guy's league.
This is from NFL.com. So
brilliant.
It doesn't. Okay, Graham. Amari Cooper, 16 points.
Oh, yeah, like we talked about earlier, a couple of injuries at the Browns backfield. I'm going to go higher.
Higher, okay. Yep. Rich, OBJ, 12 points.
Higher. Not by much. Not by much.
All right, Mike, I'm going to give you Michael Gallup at 14 points.
Lower.
Lower.
There's so many targets here.
Don't say that. I'm starting him this week.
But, we got Amari Cooper's going to have a bunch of points. Michael Gallup.
I think so too.
CeeDee Lamb's going to have. They can't all have a bunch, or the Cowboys will afford 50.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Rich, Jarvis Landry, 13 points.
Lower.
Yeah. He's not having a very good season lately. All right. Mike Fisher with Dalton Schultz at 6 points.
Ooh.
It's all on a touchdown, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yes. No, I have to pick an over under.
No, you don't have to. You can.
I'll
if
take
you want.
I've got balls. I'll take the under.
Okay. Okay. Hooper, Graham at 10 points. They don't like our linebackers very much then.
Yeah, Austin Hooper, from a fantasy perspective, he's struggled for targets and for red zone targets in particular. I'm going to say lower. He's had a rough start to his Cleveland career.
Okay, lower.
Brian.
Gallup will be 20 points. Somebody disagreeing with you there, Mike. I'm going to give you the Cowboys defense. Mike, they're projected to score 7 points.
Lower.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's on Mike. And Rich, I'll give you the Browns defense at 5.
I'm tempted to go even, but I think maybe a little bit higher. Maybe 6.
Okay.
Maybe.
There we go. So when they come through, and we'll see how good you are at your fantasy predictions, I'll make a post up on Monday and see where we see where we land. Brian as well, giving his prediction on Lloyd on a Schultz. He believes that Schultz is going to get a touchdown and take it over double points. So yeah, and Cowboys defense on 10 points.
I wish.
Now, I know you joined us late, Mike, and you got us as we were getting into the back end of the show. But we still thank you for your time. You know, obviously, you're going through what you're going through.
I felt like I was showing up early for next week.
Yeah, well, that's what you could be. That's what it could be.
Yep.
What we'll do is we'll just keep this going for the next week.
Yeah, no, this is fun, and I appreciate that you guys follow us as you do, and I know you're familiar with 105.3 The Fan. It's the best. And then I hope you're familiar with what we do with Sports Illustrated on CowboysSI.com. There are, in a given month, there are 4 million unique users reading our Cowboy coverage on CowboysSI.com. So I'd be flattered for you guys to spread that word. It's
of course,
it's the most popular site of any kind in Sports Illustrated history, and we take pride in that. But the fact that guys like you are involved, we're very, very honored by that as well.
We go out of our way to. I mean, whenever we've reached out to you specifically, you've always helped us in terms of, especially before with certain situations, asking you questions. You've always come back and said, I don't know, but I'll certainly try and find out. Yeah. You've always been really good with us, and we go out of our way to retweet yourself and everything Sports Illustrated. We genuinely, we absolutely love it. And a lot of people here, I know for a fact, pay a lot of attention to you guys. So thank you genuinely for what you do. We will always give you a lot of attention as much as we can. It's warranted.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you'll have to make sure you speak to Brian Broaders. Tell him you were with us, and you'll have a good laugh at that, a good smile. Tell you the stories when he came to London and we tried to kidnap him.
Very good. We'll do it.
Yeah. But yes, what we'll do is we'll try and get you back on at some point, Mike, when you're feeling, you've got more time and what have you with everything. Yeah. But for this week from UK Cowboys TV and the PreGame show for this weekend, from myself, Mike, from Rich, from Graham, and of course the legend that is Mike Fisher. This is UK Cowboys TV, episode number 75. See you all again next week.
See you next time.
Peace out.